Ngozi Talk Shows family, it's Nomsai here at Ngozi Talk Shows. Find your own voice, lead from within. So with me today, I have Amanda, Marie, Abdul, and Grant. How are you guys?
All good.
You all good?
All good, thanks, Sasha. All good.
Awesome, awesome. So our topic today is all about, we're talking about addiction and oh, why is the top? Oh, okay. Why we become addicted dealing with addictions. Grant, you agreed to the topic. May I please ask why did you like talking about this topic? I know you also said you actually work with clients as well, and Abdul agreed with it as well. So I'd like to hear your opinion, guys.
Right. Yeah. Well, it's. I think it's a great topic. I mean, yes, I do help clients with addiction. Now, addiction is a very, very wide word because one way or another, we are all drug addicts. Yeah. There you go. There's a statement. Why?
Are we?
Yeah, we are. We are. Once you understand what that really means, because
Yeah.
um, when it comes, we all need certain things in our life. We're all addicted to certain needs. And with those needs come certain chemicals. Your body naturally produces certain chemicals. So if you have a need for, I don't know, seeming to be important, that will give you a chemical hit, which your body will naturally produce. We've all met those people with a need to be have sympathy. Yeah. They get a certain chemical hit from that. And we do. It's not an artificial chemical. It's a naturally produced chemical. Our body is full of chemicals, as you know. If you feel good, you know what? That's giving you a hit of dopamine, right? It's right there. When you see a baby, serotonin, right? These are all chemicals that are hitting your brain. And we are addicted to it. The way we behave, the way we tell jokes, we're doing that because in the past, those kind of jokes worked. We were liked by people. It feels good. We get a chemical hit. We are all addicted to chemicals, whether we knew it or not. Okay, so, but of course, there's different kinds of things you can be addicted to. Yes, the big ones are drugs, alcohol, love, sex, religion. People can get religion is a great thing. They can become addicted. Anything in excess can become, to a degree, unhealthy. And that can be literally anything. And probably most of us in one area of our life or more are addicted to something. Could be food, TV, whatever. We're addicted. We are addictive animals. And, people say, I'll binge watch something. Binge watch, binge watch. That's kind of addictive. Yeah, that's okay. I'm not one of these people who says, don't watch TV. It's horrible. I have a TV. I watch documentaries all the time. I don't watch which I think is rubbish. I watch which I think is good. But binge watch, be careful of that. Life is about moderation. We all get addicted. However, it does appear to me that certain people have a more addictive personality. I have a friend who will no longer drink because he can't just have a glass of wine. If he goes and buys two bottles, I mean, I've got tons of alcohol in my house. If you walked in, you may think I was an alcoholic, but upon closer inspection, the bottles aren't opened. I'll occasionally have a tipple, but
Yeah, but you travel
purely.
around the world, Grant, and you get presents.
You're right. No, you're right. I do. Yes, right. Maybe duty free. I come back, or someone comes back and they buy me a drink, and it's nice. I've got some lovely alcohol around, and occasionally I'll select, but I don't drink much of it. Now, if that was my friend, it'd be a drunk. He'd drunk all of it, so he won't have it. He can't have drink in the house because he has an addictive nature. Not just with drink, with anything. If he goes and plays tennis, he's addicted to it. He'll buy everything. He'll read everything. He'll go and do it. Now, it can be good. It can be good because he can excel at things. But unfortunately, the gene that makes him is the same gene that breaks them. So we've got to watch out for what we're good at. So a wise person once said to me, our success is not, our failure is not defined by the things that we don't do. It's defined by doing too much of what we do well. There's an alternative thought. Too much. When people are too, I don't know, they're too driven. They're really driven. It makes a success, but you can be too driven, which can then reach the peak and start to become detrimental. Be careful what we're good at. It's a knowing when to put the brakes on. And I think this leads back exactly into addiction. We can all be addicted. And of course, we know recently that there's a very famous comedy actor who has suddenly passed away through to addiction, which is always dreadfully sad. I don't know about you, but I've certainly been to funerals, two funerals of people, addiction. One was a family member. And I didn't even know I was addicted. One was, and another one was a good business colleague's brother, who I also knew. Very sad. So that's what I wanted to say about addiction, first of all. Abdul, what about you, my friend?
Yeah, Grant, you are right. Addiction doesn't necessarily mean that alcohol or the drug that we take, that only meant addiction. Okay, in any way, anything that don't do it in moderation, okay, can be termed as addiction. Okay, so when, like you said, you mentioned of raging, okay, people are so, fixated to raging, okay, and in that sense, they can't do without raging. People, especially in Africa here, people like supposed to maybe go to work in the morning, they'll just jump to they're going to church from morning to evening. Okay, so addiction is has in various forms, not only drugs, like you mentioned, not only alcohol, like you mentioned. Anything that we do eat too much, whether it's sex or whatever, is termed as addiction. So it's very, very important. And today's one of the major problems we are facing today, the world is facing now, is addiction, and it has a very significant effect on the world's population. Okay, so, and there are major ways people get into addiction, and I think that's what we are here today to have discussed, and also the various way we can help to keep or treat people with addiction. I mean, yesterday, Momsa sent me a message. Somebody who is, dealing with or struggling with addiction, that passed away, was found dead in his room. So, it's real. And then the effects are very, very huge. So it's something that society has to pay attention to. Okay, society really has to pay attention to people that are into addiction, because when there is low human resources, most of the countries' people's major population are into, when they are into addiction, it also have a significant effect on the country's economy. When there is low human resources, there's low production, and which in effect affects a country's economy. So it's very, very important we pay attention to the topic addiction.
I like how you both commented on the fact that addiction isn't just drugs and alcohol, although that's the ones that we definitely focus on, because we can be, like Grant said, addicted to food, or addicted to television, or addicted to whatever it is that you get that hit of dopamine from. And right now, for me, I'm really watching like my students and my daughter, because she's only 12, and cell phones are the like big huge addiction right now, especially for kids. And that's one of the things that I'm like, how do we as parents consciously limit that? Because it's like a fight every time I try to remove that device from her or whatever. And she already has limits on it. Like there's 1 hour a day of apps, and everything shuts down at 8:45. And there's like a whole bunch of things, but it's still something that we have to be really conscious of as parents. And I'm reading this book on parenting in the new age of anxiety. And one of the things yesterday, just as I was reading, talks about addiction. And it says, of course, kids don't always cope through drugs, video games, social media, food, or even Netflix. It can be seen as all coping mechanisms as reasonably harmless in moderate doses. So we're talking again about what is it that you're doing in excess that's causing these things. And so when we're watching kids, we need to be aware not just of, are they doing drugs and alcohol, but what is the thing that they're doing in excess that is their addiction. And it can even be, like Grant said, something super positive, like people who play sports and are really, really good at those sports. It is their addiction. Like they are constantly going out and doing that, but then they have that addictive personality where they go, and that's why we see a lot of sports stars who end up with addiction problems in drugs and alcohol in their careers as well, is because they have that addictive personality. And so trying to recognize what those addictive behaviors are, and because they're a coping mechanism. They're a coping mechanism for us to try to numb out some other area of our life. And so you can even be addicted to the gym, and we view that as a positive addiction, but it's still an addiction nonetheless, right? So we need to find balance, and finding balance in what it is that are coping mechanisms, then we are able to overcome those addictions, whether they are positive addictions or quote unquote negative addictions, because regardless of what the addiction is, it's still an addiction. And we can be addicted to things that are super positive. But when it becomes an excess, that's when it starts to become a problem.
I agree with you guys that addictions is not just alcohol or drugs. There's so many things with addictions, like our children are obsessed with it. They're addicted to mobile phones, smartphones, even adults as well. They are. If you see these couples, like when they go out nowadays, go out for meal, they're still on their smartphones. They're paying, like going to a restaurant is not cheap. And they're there in a restaurant and they're still look at their smartphones. So addictions, it could be anything, but for me, what actually is Matthew Perry's story. That's why I created this topic, because his story is so touching. You know, when you watch the celebrities, society, how their story ends is all addiction, the pressure, and the pressure that we expect from them. We have bigger expectations from them, and the media has a bigger expectations from them, and there's no really a genuine relationship between the fans, the followers, and the celebrities. We have these bigger expectations that they have to provide entertainment for us, but because they feel that way, and then our relationship towards that is not genuine, is either if they dress the way we don't like, we attack them. If they do the things like they put makeup the way we don't like it, we attack them. Like if you look at the celebrities on their social medias, I think there's somebody who attacked actually Shireen once here at Ngozi Talk Shows. On Facebook, so I had to step in and help her out as well. So there's these expectations with the celebrity culture where somebody has to put the personality that is not there. Because even when I was working with Gavin, I remember Gavin Grant, because he comes from the X Factor. Oh, sorry, I'm not meant to say that. So he comes from this, and he was telling me that he likes the way that I am, but and then on the other side, he was explaining that when you do somebody, you got to do things that people like what they expect. I was like, I am doing that. I am not going to forge a personality that is not me. And even with when I went to take music school, that's when I realized that some of the musicians, they have to pretend to be something that they are not. The character has to be recreated based on what is making money, what is trending in that moment. Like if I go to the X Factor now, or if I go to Britain's Got Talent or any other reality TV, So my character has to be changed to fit in to that. And that's why I did go to The Voice for an audition. That's why after that, I was like, I am going back. I felt sick anyway. I couldn't continue, but I was like, I am going back because the personality with the celebrity culture, it has to change. It has to, they have to put it on. Like when these guys, the way they die, what's the point of entertainment if we are going to be entertained and then the people that are delivering the entertainment, they die like that? So that's where I just felt sad that it's a sad culture. I don't know if anyone agrees with me when somebody have to struggle and in order for them to find the coping mechanism, it has to be drugs. And I'm not sure if the support is there for them. I'm not sure. What do you think, Grant?
Well, no, so that's a great question, because there can be an awful lot of pressures. And as you know, I work with some influencers and performers and celebrities. And yes, there certainly can be a lot of pressure in the work. It's very easy for us to sit there and think, oh, what are they complaining about? They got an easy job. I'd love to have that. There's a lot of pressure. There's a lot of pressure. There's a lot of deadlines. I've got clients who are, going through things like this, and there's a lot of deadlines, a lot of expectations. Look in the world of music, they're making money. When the business comes involved, they say, we'll sign you up for a 5-album deal. You go and do the deal. You've got to showcase it. You've got to get it known. You've got to go TV interviews, personal interviews, people digging around, little sleep. Opportunities come up. Oh, we need you to go here, do a press release, do that. Oh, you can't see your girlfriend now. You haven't got, okay, you can't see your parents. Oh, your baby's sick. Okay, well, you've got to go on stage. All this builds up. Then you've got to be a creative. Then you've got to create deeply, search your soul and write songs that touch the hearts of millions. And you've got to do it by a deadline. Doing a functional thing by a deadline is one thing. Creating, you get writer's block. As you know, you can get all this builds up. And what do people say? Just take that, help you get through the day. Just a little bit. I read a thing. I love music documentaries. I come from a music background years ago, and it was about the what's it? I'm saying, it's Fleetwood Mac, the big band Fleetwood Mac, and I heard this at the weekend, and they said when they started off, they was going around, they was touring, they was working hard, and they just sort of said, "Oh, just take a little bit of cocaine, just to just." People were giving it to them, right? Here's just a little bit just to get you through the day. Okay, they took a little bit and it got them through the day. The change came when they started buying it. They said that was a big difference. People giving you a little toot of cocaine to get you through the morning was, it just kind of helped a little bit. They didn't see that as a big thing. But when they realized they needed it so much they couldn't wait to be given, they went to purchase it. That's a whole psychological difference. When they did, they said, and you would not believe how much money we have spent on cocaine. They said, it is a fortune, an absolute fortune. One of them said, it damn nearly killed me. I can't believe we're still alive. And it wasn't just that. It was all the other stuff. There was they was having affairs with each other, this, that going on, band disputes. I mean, it sounded really like hell on earth. And I was in a rock band for some years, and I've got to tell you, it was one of the hardest times of my life. And no, we didn't do drugs. That's what made us unusual. We didn't. We drank. We was young guys. We drank a lot. But no, we didn't do it. It wasn't our thing. But a lot of people are. There's a lot of social pressures to do it, a lot of norms. Is there a support there? I do believe there's more support today than there ever was. But also, back in the day, there was a culture of doing it. It was the dumb thing. I watched other music documentaries going back to the 60s, and they were saying when they were using hallucinogenic drugs, they said, this isn't drugs, this was creativity. Some of the most creative stuff was unreleased by mind-altering drugs. They said, we didn't do it to get out of our mind, we did it to get creative. And undoubtedly, it did create some really artistic music. Some of the most successful albums of all time were clearly drug-induced. Of course, it has a lashback, doesn't it? Some people took it, and some great artists took it, and it just wasn't good stuff. And it went too far, and they never came back. And so many people died. It's a double-edged sword, isn't it? It's the sacrifices that people make for their art sometimes. And I'm not condoning it for a second, but I'm very honest that sometimes, and what a lot of these people said, in the short term, it produced creativity. In the long term, it destroyed lives. Many of them didn't get through it. Some did get through it and tell the tale, who obviously tell others now not to. You know, I know that certain celebrities will have Elton John on speed dial, because he said once that when he woke up in the morning after doing cocaine, he saw a little bit of cocaine left on the mirror and just went like that to take it in the morning. Said, my God. So when others feel like, shall I do cocaine? Sometimes they'll phone him up and he will give them a lot of reasons why they shouldn't, having been through a lot of addictions himself. There is a lot of pressure in high pressure industries to do that. So it's, you know, we can vilify people and say, why would they do it? Context is everything. If you're honest, you put yourself in that context, there's a lot of pressure to do some certain things. And it can seem like a short-term fix, because pressure, we often think pressure is only temporary. And when stress is temporary, that's actually not a bad thing. Temporary stress, like running through a bus, is stress. That's a good thing. It's a good thing. When it's sustained stress, when it's stress that we can't control the outcome of, that's bad. So if your destiny's tidying up and you've got time to tidy it up, that's not bad, because you can control the outcome. You can do that. When there's a mess that you are responsible for, but you cannot control it, you are then out of control. That, therefore, is sustained unhealthy stress. What do people do? They look for something to relieve the stress, be it this, be it drugs, be it sex, be it whatever. People will look for various things. And when anything's disproportionate, it becomes addictive and it can be bad. So, yeah, great question, Nobsa. Great question. And these are the reasons why. And it doesn't just relate to celebrities, artists. It relates to all of us in certain. I have met people who appear to be perfectly functioning executives of companies who are addicted to drugs. And some people do tend to have more of an addictive personality than others. Fortunately, I do not. You know, I speak at conferences in Las Vegas. So in Las Vegas, almost any hotel, not all of them, nearly any hotel you're staying in Las Vegas is also a casino. Fortunately, I can come home and not even have gambled at all, not even put money in slots. It literally is of no interest to me whatsoever, thankfully. So I'm very safe to go to Las Vegas. Okay. It's just not my thing. I'm not an excessive person like that. Fortunately, I'm just wired that way. But some people are. And some people are, and if they meet that opportunity, that situation where there's a lot of stress and seemingly alternatives to that stress, boom, that is a perfect storm. That's what I felt like saying. Abdul, what's your take on this? What's your experience of this? What have you seen? What do you think?
Fame and addiction. I mean, it's something that it's real. Okay, and celebrities sometimes they go through a lot of stuff, a lot of pressure they have to go through to be able to live up to those kind of expectations. You know, it comes with a lot of stress and depression, and they have to be able to fulfill, able to live up to those kind of expectations that society puts up on them. So, in as much fame, really has to also have kind of correlation with addiction. Okay, there are some of these activities that they have to use that as a performance enhancement before they can come to stage and perform. They need to take in all sorts of drugs to boost, their energy to be able to perform very well. So, fame has something to do with addiction, and this is something which is real. Okay, because people have to live up to a lot of expectation that we have for them, the society have for them. So addiction is something that is not, it doesn't, irrespective of our status. Okay, but really, when we are looking to the stem of fame, addiction, I mean, play a major role. You can say about maybe like 70 to 80% of celebrity are into addiction. Okay, so which is very, very detrimental to their health. And when Nomsa mentioned addiction, then Matthew Perry came to mind. We all know famous Matthew Perry. As he went through addiction, because of the expectation that he said that the expectation that the society puts on them as celebrity, they have to sometimes engage in this kind of drugs to be able to use as a coping mechanism, be able to release their stress and then the depression that they go through. So celebrity and addiction is something that we also have to pay attention to. A lot of the celebrities are going through a lot. They are going through a lot because of the expectation that the society puts on them. And most of them, they usually use drugs as their coping mechanism. Like I mentioned, sportsmen, most of them use drugs as their performance enhancement. They use drugs to be able to boost their performance. So celebrity and addiction is something that is very, 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 very real.
I think when we look at addiction, we have to look really at the source of what it is that we're using. Why are we trying to cope? And so what is it that is causing that need to cope? And are there other alternatives that you could be doing instead of using that drug or alcohol or addiction, whatever your addiction might be? So why is it that we're turning to those specific things? Because I know I have a family history of addiction and with alcohol, and I don't drink at all. But that's one thing that I'm worried about. My daughter is that she'll have that she'll internally choose to self-medicate with drugs or alcohol or whatever it is, because it's a coping mechanism. And I always view for myself, and I've seen it in lots of people that I know who have addictions, is it's almost like they're self-medicating for something that they don't want to deal with, some internal demon that they're trying to overcome and trying to avoid and trying to push to the side. And even family members, when there is somebody with an extreme addiction, they tend to enable. There's enabling techniques, and the people that surround them are enablers a lot of the time too, because they brush off the addiction or do not acknowledge that there is an addiction, or twist what the scenario so that it doesn't look like there's an addiction problem, and when there clearly is an addiction problem. And so why we have to think about, why are the people that surround certain people enablers, and then the people who do have those addictions, what is it that they're internally trying to hide and using the addiction as a coping mechanism? Because I think when we get to that, we start to have some empathy and understanding, not necessarily enabling, but empathy. And then there's that really like gray line of what is empathy and what is enabling. And enabling is when you allow that person to continue to behave in that way without holding them accountable. You can have empathy for someone and remove yourself from the situation. You can't continue to enable them to have that addiction and not call it out for what it is, and say, like, you set some clear boundaries around them needing to get some help for it. And really what I found with anyone that I know who has an addiction, until they're ready to admit they have an addiction and get help, there's really nothing that you can do other than be like, I love you and I wish you the best, but I can't support you until you choose to make better choices for yourself. And that's a hard line to pull. It really is a hard line to draw in the sand and say, I care about you and I love you, but until you're ready to deal with these addictions, then I can't be in your life. And that sometimes is the line that you have to draw, and it's a really hard one to do. And I know for myself, I've had to draw that line. And I look at it as, for my family experiences, they're all trying to self-medicate anxiety from my personal perspective and view as an outsider, and knowing the anxiety that I struggle with, that the majority of my family tree that has an addiction issues, it's self-medicating anxiety and not willing to dig deep into what is causing that anxiety and why that anxiety is there, and healthier outlets for dealing with anxiety. And so since I've become aware of this and continued to look at this, because I could have easily fallen down the path of becoming an alcoholic like the rest of my family. It was very, very like early on, drinking before 18, almost every weekend type of thing, and just constantly seeking that escape, right? That escape from the anxiety. And so then I was never a huge drinker, but it still was like almost every weekend because that's what I grew up with. And then I had a friend die at 18 from drinking and driving, and I just was like, I don't want this in my life. And I just chose to quit then, but then just drink occasionally. And then when my daughter was 2, I just was like, I don't want this in my life at all. I want to model something completely different for her. And from like 18 to 31, I barely drank, like maybe once every 6 months. But even after that, it was like, nope. And I haven't had any drinks in like 10 years. And so for me, it was recognizing that, okay, I have anxiety. I use alcohol as a tool for my anxiety, but then it actually causes me more anxiety in the end. And I think that with alcohol, when you drink and then you get more anxious, then you have to drink more to get less anxious, and then you have to drink more because it causes you more anxiety. And it's this like snowball effect of you're trying to escape that anxiety, but you can't escape it, because the more you drink, the more anxious you become. And that's just what I recognize for myself. I don't know if anybody else has had that experience, but that was what my experience was. And so becoming really conscious of what was causing my anxiety and choosing more healthier options and outlets for it, and also doing a whole bunch of research on anxiety and what causes it, has what allowed me to take a step back and recognize that so much of addiction is self-medication for something internal that we're trying to escape from.
100% agree with you, Amanda. I think everything has a roots where it comes from. It's either genetic or it's a choice that we decide, or is completely a pressure. There are some, like I always look at my daughter, and I say to myself, if I have expectations with her at school, and if I don't show her support, then she's gonna study really hard, and then she will expect me to come home and expect me to bring good results. But what I do when she's studying, I always go in and say, I think it's time we take a break. What don't you think? Or I think it's time you do this, focus on your friends, go out and meet friends, meet your friends, take a break, to show her that yes, it's okay to study, but at the same time, it's okay to have a normal life. But then there is a genetic addiction. When genetic addiction is in the family, you have to learn how to deal with it, because otherwise they will continue generation after generation. My family, my dad drank, and he did take alcohol. My grandmother did. And I think my mom did a little bit, but none of us children drink. We don't drink. So those, sometimes you can choose how you want to live your life, but sometimes it's the pressure, like Abdullah was saying as well. The pressure, sometimes it can be too much. We live in this society where there is so much expectations. You go to this place, the people are judging you. You go to this place, the people are judging you. So sometimes if you're not strong enough, and mostly in the celebrity culture, if you're not strong enough, like Grant was saying, that if somebody offers you something and you take it for free, and then later on you want to buy it because you feel that you have to have it, but actually you can perform without without drugs. I've been in the music industry. I just go on stage and perform, but I've realized that as you get older, things change. the way we see ourselves, when I was young, up to the age of 16, when I go on stage, I'll go for fun. I don't have to worry about anything. But now I have to worry about what people think. I have to worry if they, or even speaking, I have to worry about all these things. There's so many things you have to worry about. But to be honest with you, for me, I always say to people, it's good to be you, because if you try to please somebody else, that is a frustration, and that is an entertainment industry. You have to be something that you are not. But when I watch this guy, Matthew Perry, to me, he's a very good actor. So I don't think he just need any drugs or anything, because natural, he's a good entertainer. Friends, people watch it all the time. It's a thing that doesn't go away when you open it, or even when you're sad, you can watch it. So I don't think that people, they realize how good they are. And even when you come to a family that struggle with addiction, you have to seek support. But some people, they don't, because we live in this world where people are very, very judgmental. So if anyone is watching, you can look at your family history and change your family history well by rewriting the past. And there's a genetic variation where you have to look at what influence, like Amanda was saying, mostly the brain and how your brain responds to substances. We get addicted to so many things, or sometimes it could be TV as well. And also, you can look at your childhood upbringing as well. Childhood upbringing can actually, attachment can cause people getting addicted to things later on in life. Or sometimes when people get rejected in relationship as well, or even with working life, people reject you all the time. I go to places sometimes, and even in church, you find people that are very judgmental. So can we imagine how the world is like? Where Jesus say, come as you are, you'll find people that are really, really judgmental. So this is the world where we live in, where you have to be really, really strong in spirit is very, very important. And also write the story that you want in life, and seek support. If anyone is struggling with addiction, seek support. I've never been addicted to anything, but all I can say is if you are addicted to something, I just do sports, like as a sports. I'm not sure. I'm an African person, like, you know how we grow up in Africa, Abdul. We grow up being taught to not to copy somebody else's character. And when somebody copies, I started seeing here in the UK where you see somebody like they copy somebody else's character, and then I started doing it as well with the clothes and everything. And I was like, in the later time, I was like, this is so frustrating. So I have to be me. So you see that all the time. So I think the pressure as well, and people trying to be something that they're not. So it is very, very important, like a celebrity. If you are somebody, you want to be a celebrity, or you are a celebrity, have like grounds, like these fans that have expectations that don't exist, tell them off, or just ignore them completely, or just don't look at the thing, hire somebody to actually answer messages, and anything that is negative, don't read it, because otherwise it is so much, really, really so much stress. It causes stress, and it can cause somebody going to addictions for no reason whatsoever. I don't know, what do you think, Grant?
You raised some really good points there, Nomsa, really good points. And I know you said like artists aren't allowed to be themselves. Well, I think yes and no. I think nowadays they're more encouraged to be themselves. There's more propensity onto that. However, don't forget, they are by default performers. They are performers. And even thinking in terms of what we do sometimes, we're we speak on stage, we go there, we perform. You've been in acting, I've been in some movies and things like this, and you perform, and you have to go. And sometimes you've not had the greatest news before you go to do it. Something's happened, something's gone wrong, and it's showtime. You've got to perform. And you think about that if you're doing that on a large stage, on a large theatre, in front of a TV screen, a podcast, an interview. You see, this is why you can sometimes see people break down with a good interviewer, because it's cathartic for them. There's certain belief that certain celebrities are being controlled. I'm going to be careful what I say here. Not saying ones I work with or anything like that, but some are being controlled. And where we analyze their body language and things, we can sometimes see that there's something going on. We really deeply read into micro movements and things that are going on, and we can see this, and it's a very disturbing environment, because people ultimately, most people perform to some extent. We perform because we've been accepted for behaving that way in the past. Think of people in road rage. Those people have road rage. They're always the same. Oh, what's that idiot doing? Where did they learn to drive? What are they, blind? Blah, blah, blah. They get something from that. They get something from that they're not getting elsewhere in their life. So that's them letting off steam, if you will, trying to restore the balance, so they feel, in their life. So if you're not restoring that balance somehow, and that's not the best way to do it from road rage, obviously, but we all do this to a greater or lesser extent in certain areas of our life. So some people are addicted to arguing. The people always in arguments. People always want to argue with me. No, you always want to argue with people because you get something. You get that feeling of strength that perhaps you're not getting elsewhere. The CEO, who's CEOs aren't there to boss people around, but they're making big decisions and do it. When they go home, they may be a pussycat because they're done with that. When they go home, they say, yes, dear, yeah, whatever you like. I don't mind, whatever. Paint it what color? Yeah, fine, cool, whatever. They're not bothered because they've got that fix elsewhere in their life, so they need to restore that balance. You know what I'm saying? Or if they've got that and they haven't got a job where they can exert that level of authority and they're getting that kind of behavior at home, guess what happens when they get to work? This needs to be done now. Why is it not? They're those people. Right? It's about balance. So we need to get a healthy balance in our life in all areas. Otherwise, we stand out for all the wrong reasons. Now, if you're being suppressed in your life, of course, that's going to come out in a different way. People have a need to be free. People got, what do people do? You see them now, they got the shirt and tie. What do they do? They take it off and they go, that's where they really want to be. So the idea is to have a life that I'm not going to change what is what I wear, right? It's to try to be the most congruent self is the best thing ever. I help people with addictions. I have various methods to help people with addictions, but the first key is to understand why. Why you is to one. Well, in fact, the first key is to recognize it. And I was on an earlier show this morning. I'll come off that show onto this one, and this one was all about perfectionism. Very dangerous thing, perfectionism. Very dangerous. People wear it as a badge of honor. Oh, I'm a perfectionist. To which me as a coach, my first question would be, okay, we'll have to work hard to get that out of you then, because perfectionist is never good. Perfectionism is addiction. Perfectionism means you're trying to attain an artificially high standard. Could be that you as a kid who was told only A grades are acceptable. What happens if you don't get an A grade? You're a bad kid. You're bad. You're not good enough. You're not worthy. What happens when they get older? What happens when they have their own children? Where's that going to end? Not in a great place. So yes, of course, we all want to get high standards, but this is where the science becomes an art form, is understanding where something's good, high, and it performs, but not to the point of, put it this way, I would say a perfectionist, if you perfect something and bring it to the market, but by the time you got it perfect, it's out of date and nobody wants it. So it's not perfect at all. Japanese, when they design things, quite often they will make it to an incredibly high standard, but they will build in an imperfection. Why? Because they think it's arrogant to be perfect. Only God is perfect. Humans cannot be perfect. They build that in. An interesting philosophy. So think about this. So we have an outlet. We have a need to want to be ourselves. But whether it's artificial, you're always in front of the camera. If you haven't cultivated a way of being yourself, then that is stress. And then you'll start to deal with other ways. Yes, I have ways that I deal with clients to release stress, and also to release addictions. I have certain protocols for that, and it can be very, very effective. But you need to understand that normally you need to replace something with a feeling, something else that's going to replace that. This is why we look at influencers. Sometimes work with influencers who appear to have I was talking to an influencer last night, a colleague of mine. I was talking about in their industry, there's an awful lot of need to project they got the perfect life, the perfect lifestyle, because after all, they're influencing others to follow their path. But has anyone got a perfect life? One of my questions in business. So your business looks like it's fantastic. I bet everything's perfect in your business, right? I don't know what the answer is going to be. It's going to be not perfect. No, there's a few things that could be better. Of course, name one business that's perfect. If it's perfect, it isn't growing. That's for sure, right? And the same for our personal lives and everything. So one is about recognizing, are you addicted? Once you understand the parameter of addictions, could be road rage, could be addicted to love. Those people who are always going from relationship to relationship and always finding love. This is the one. You're addicted to love. Okay. Whether it is all the other things, drink and drugs, there's a whole range of it. One, recognize it. Two, understand why. What do you think is causing this? As Nobs said, what's missing in your life? Is it cultural? Was you brought up? Unless you get grade A's, you're not a good kid. You're not worthy. You don't get loved. I've coached people in the past, and what do you want? I want to have a big house and a big car and a big. And I say, why? What do you want that for? Now, there's nothing wrong with wanting those things if you genuinely want them for what they are. What do you really want? Well, it's good to have that, and and it comes around, And my older sister's got all that. Okay, what's happened there? So once I dig down and get deep into the psychology, they don't want a big house. They don't want a big car. They want to be told they're loved by their parents. That's what they really want. When they get that, they couldn't give a damn about the house or the car. That's when you get to it. So I go through a series when I coach people of asking certain questions. And I know until I've uncovered a certain thing, that coaching's going nowhere. Because when I get to the thing, I asked some woman once, what she wants to be, and she came out of all the rhetoric. I'm a world-class this, I want to be that, and I'm a sell this, I'm a beacon for women all over the world, and blah 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 blah. Yeah, I get all that. So, and I kept digging, and the tears came. I thought, here we go. And she said, I'm someone who's lost her brother. There you go. That's it right there. That was the thing. I knew until I uncovered that, the coaching would be worthless. Because until she learns to deal with that, her career, her life would never take off to the levels that it could attain. And now she's doing fantastically. And that's it. And we all get addicted to certain things. She was addicted to applause. All right? Until we uncover that, people can't really take off. Or as someone once said, once you get into a plane, an airline is going on holiday, the host said, could you please put the bag in the overhead locker? And I said, why? I said, well, the pilot said, until we put our baggage away, we can't take off. So I just wanted to say that. So yeah, that's what it is. Recognize it, the reason why, and what we could use to replace it. And often it's about helping people design their ideal business. And this is what it is, ideal business, their ideal lifestyle, and learning to communicate with themselves and others. When they come aligned, they have no need for addiction. They have no need for it after. Anyway, that's what I wanted to say. Amanda, Abdul, jump in. What are you thinking?
Yeah, I like it when you guys mention of genetics. I mean, the biological factors of addiction, you know, and the genetics, I mean, play a major role in addiction, and family history can significantly increase the risk of addiction, and this is real. And this study, that's according to the National Institute of Health. The risk of addiction increase for those who have parents who are alcoholics or drug addicts. And then it has been found that children of addicts are 45% to 79% more likely to abuse drugs or alcohol compared to the general population. Okay, so alcohol and drug addicts babies are also being born addicted to substance. So if a mother has used a substance throughout pregnancy, this early dependency can then later transfer into an addiction. So genetics really play a major role in addiction. The environment, okay, the environment in which we find ourselves, our parents are having a history of addiction. We are always with them. The probability, okay, the probability that we'll be taking alcohol is very, very high. And you know, in this case, the children grow up and then becoming an addict, drug addict. It's very, very difficult to, deal with it. And I think we have to check on people. Okay, these days people are going through a lot of struggles. Okay, they are going through a lot of mental health issues, the bipolar, depression, and all those kind of mental health issues. And mostly these people they communicate with their friends, and then mostly their friends will recommend, oh, you can try this. This is going to help you. This can be a kind of a coping mechanism for you. And you know, mostly we should advise them that they should seek a professional help, because there's no, mental health professional that or a psychologist that you go to seek help with your addiction. They will tell you, recommend that take an alcohol as a coping mechanism. Okay, so it's very, very important that we always should seek help through mental health professionals. We shouldn't take it like, oh, this is the situation I'm going through, and the best solution for me is to engage in all kind of drugs to be able to help me release my stress or the depression that I'm going through. So it is important we check up on people. When people are going through a lot. The next day you hear like one of your friend, has committed suicide. Okay, because there are a lot of things people are refusing to share. Because why? Because the society nowadays, they are too much judgmental. Okay, when you find something with people, instead of trying to find the reasons or the roots of why those people are going through that, we don't care about that. We just see and then we judge. And people feel it difficult to come out and then communicate their issue to us. Okay, in a way, they will try to find so many things to be able to cope with, rather than to communicate with their friends. So I think it's about time we stop being judgmental and also check on people. And if they have an issue with depression, stress, or what have you, we advise them that they should seek mental health, and they should see mental health professionals to be able to help them deal with it, because addiction is very, very difficult to cope with. And it's something that when the moment you become tolerant to it, you keep on taking it. Now the quantity you take has to increase to be able to get the effects that you are looking for. So we should have to check up on people and make sure that when people are going through mental health problems, we help them to seek a professional advice rather than prescribing some kind of drugs or some kind of coping mechanism for them. And in fact, we are doing more harm than doing good to them.
Yeah, I really like what you said about seeking a professional and looking at yourself from a holistic perspective, or looking at people from a holistic perspective, because like you said, getting a prescription for, if you're depressed, for a medication isn't actually going to cure that. It's just going to mask the symptoms, because you're not getting to the root cause of the problem. And I've had that for myself with anxiety, and being prescribed anxiety medication and it really not doing anything other than being a temporary band-aid solution and not getting to the root cause of the problem. And so I really have a hard time with pharmaceutical companies and anxiety and depression drugs, because unless you're going to, okay, give them the drugs for helping, but then you also need to read books. You also need to go get help from a psychologist. You also need to possibly change your diet, change your lifestyle, change who you're surrounding with, and all of these things to actually like cure your anxiety, because just taking one pill isn't enough. It might be one of the tools in your toolbox to help with your anxiety, but it's not going to cure the entire piece that it encompasses, because you're really just like, it's like sticking a band-aid over top of a corduroy artery bleed, right? You can't, a band-aid's not going to help for long. And that's what was my experience anyways. It might not be somebody else's. Somebody else might have had really great experience with pharmaceuticals for curing anxiety and depression, but it wasn't mine. Mine was, I had to go seek out yoga, seek out spiritual healers, look at natural options, look at changing who I surround myself with, all of those things. And actually don't take any pharmaceuticals anymore. It's all natural options, because the pharmaceuticals weren't helping me at all. And that was just my experience. Somebody else might have a different experience, but I know for myself that piece it's one piece of the puzzle, right? And it might be one tool in your toolbox. And I'm grateful that I had that tool for part of it. But like I said, for me, it was just one tiny band-aid, not curing any of it, because I had so many other layers to pull up and figure out and learn from. And so with people with addictions, it's not just a like one band-aid solution. It's a real holistic shift in mindset. It's a holistic shift in nutrition. It's a holistic shift in what it is that you're doing each and every day, who you're surrounding yourself with, what books you read, what music you listen to, all of those things. What's your connection with spirituality? All of the pieces of the puzzle. When we start to look at people from a holistic perspective, then we can start to understand where that addiction might be coming from. And we might have, but they also have to be willing to take the steps to make those changes, right? And so that's just the piece too, is you could be like, here, I have all of this information from what I've been through, and this is how you can look at yourself holistically. But if they're not willing to take the step, there's really nothing you can do until they're ready, until they've hit their point where they're like, okay, I'm willing to admit I have a problem, and I'm willing to do the work to fix that problem. Because so many people will be like willing to be like, yeah, I'm addicted to alcohol, so what? But they're not willing to take the steps to fix it. And until they're willing to take the steps to fix it, there's really nothing you can do.
I love that, Amanda. I was saying what you just said. I was saying on the earlier thing I was on was, is knowledge is power? No, only applied knowledge is power. There's too many people who they feel the gratification from knowing. Knowing isn't doing, isn't getting the results. And you're right. It is good to take a look at a holistic approach. And I've got good friends who are psychiatrists, and while I don't like the medical approach, as you're taking drugs, I do recognise if someone's on the verge of suicide, on like the suicide watch, yes, medication can keep them on the right side. So it does have its use. It isn't. I'm not going to vilify anyone for taking medication, not at all. If used correctly, it can be good. Of course, there's horror stories also. I've got a very good friend who was overseas and was depressed and was given way too strong medication, and he's never come back. I mean, he's back in the UK.
Well, it's just one piece of the puzzle, right? It's one tool that you can use. It's not necessarily, and I think our perspective sometimes is, well, just go to the doctor and I'll get anti-anxiety or antidepressants, and then I'll be cured. But it's like, it doesn't work that way.
So
there's one tool.
I'm a fully trained mental welfare coach and hypnotherapist, and I help a lot of people with addictions with hypnotherapy. I'm a hypnotherapy trainer, as you know, very highly qualified in that. But here's the thing: when people come to, I ask, are you on any medication? And if they're under depression, there's certain contraindications, which means I will not work with them. I can't, because certain medicines shouldn't mix with certain things, So I'll always say, can I have a letter from your doctor authorizing you to have, if they're under the doctor, can I have a letter from your doctor authorizing you to have hypnotherapy? because I'm there to help. You know, is to get it right, and it's not right for everyone. It's right for 95% of people, but not for everyone. It's always worth taking that check. But it can be an extremely, non-addictive. You don't need drugs. There's leaves no scars. Hypnotherapy and other modalities I use can be really great for addictions. It can get rid of them pretty quick. Of course, you can't guarantee that, but it normally is pretty quick once you've done the groundwork and understood what it is. But like you said, you've got to commit to it. There was a guy I had a little while ago. He was.
Bye, Amanda. Sorry, Grant.
Bye, Amanda.
Sorry, guys. It's like 7 a.m. here. I got to get my daughter up for school. Have a wonderful day. Such a good conversation and such a meaningful one. Take care, everybody.
You too. Thanks,
Amanda. Thank you. But yeah, we got people addicted to shisha. That stuff you had outside those bubble t-shirt, not bubbles, Hubba Bubba top, and he was addicted to it, absolutely addicted. And I dug into why he does it, why he thinks he needs it, what he hates about it. Really, really dug into it, and got to the point where he just stopped, and he was losing so much money was spending it, and he got rid of that. And I asked him, he said, while later, I was a little bit naughty. He said, I went back after several weeks and tried it. He said, that's bad, isn't it? I said, no, it's not to make you a problem, it's to make you have control. Okay, so if someone's an alcoholic, it's not necessarily to help them completely stop drinking if they wish it. It's to help them have control. If they need to stop, it's to help them stop. If they need to make it just down to moderate drinking or just the occasional tipple, that's it. So he said he went back to the shisha shop after a couple of weeks, tried it, and I said it was the best result ever. He tried it, took it, meant it does nothing for me. I don't want it. I put it down and left. And I said, it didn't make him throw up. I said, that's the best result ever. You had control, you had choice, and then you chose not to take it. Perfect result. And that's what I always like to get with clients from that. But yeah, I come back to what we said at the beginning. Everybody is addicted. Now, some things are small and don't really affect us, but if it does, please, feel free to reach out. We're here to help, guide you, support you. And yeah, we've got people on the team who are, like myself, who are qualified and experienced with doing that. So we want you to live a happy, fulfilled life and in control of your own life, living a balanced life. So if we can help you to do that, and in your business, please reach out. Just wanted to say that. Nobsa, over to you.
I'm going to comment what Abdul said, that sometimes we have during lockdown, one of my friends took her own life actually, but before she took her life, there was this part where school, their children were being bullied, and I had actually some of the parents saying your daughter needs to stop hanging out with these girls, and I was like, why? And they were like, they didn't give me a reason, but then I saw it was all about gossip. So I said, I was very, very firm to them. I said, my daughter will not stop going out with this person because they're friends. You don't stop people just because you guys don't like her. It doesn't mean I have to follow. So I was like, I'm not going to stop my daughter. And I'm glad that I didn't get involved, because later on she took her own life. But I felt that as a friend, I felt her, but I couldn't understand it because her husband is rich, she's very educated and very rich as well. So I couldn't really understand why she took her own life. But then as the police were doing the investigation, that's when you realize actually there were underlying problems that were going on, genetic problems. So that's when I realized that she's the only one. There's been quite a few people that have taken their lives in my life. So, and I'm like, maybe we failed them, but now I realize that this world is very, very judgmental. Sometimes the people don't like to confide in people because they don't like to be judged. And if we were in the society were to change that and let people know that there is a room for them to actually talk, to come and talk. It's like myself, I got into music and I went to recording. I think I mentioned this, Grant. And when I went to record my album, I came home. Now I didn't know that in the UK there's a cult music industry is full of occult. But then when I got recruited by the occultic people, I started having problems. But now having friends and family, it was a different story. People are very, very judgmental. I stopped talking to people until I found somebody. Everybody, when I confided in somebody, I ended up with the social services in my house. Like it is not normal, but it's real. It exists. And when I actually, somebody stepped in, one of the pastors stepped in and that said, I know how I can help you. And this person, I didn't know this person, but they dedicated their time to actually teach me how to deal with the occult and how when they approach you, when you say no, there are consequences. But with my family, there were so many. The only person that was there holding my hand is my mom, my sister, but the rest, it was too much judgmental. And in a way that if I didn't get support from this pastor, I don't know where I would be as a human being. But he showed me that we are human. I need to, like, teaching me how to deal with things and stuff. But when it comes to people, like when you talk to somebody, people are very, very judgmental. So I can tell you that I think it is the society and mostly the celebrities, they don't have a relationship with their followers. It's all about we expect them to entertain us, or even when we watch their film, it's easy for us to judge. Like I sent you that TV series yesterday. I went there once and I was like, this is a hard work, really, really hard work. And I was like, I wouldn't do this full time. I can do this if I have time. And just to learn things about full time is too much. But the people that were there to me, they were really, really nice. And I have to say, when it comes to clothes and doing your hair, whatever you do, you don't have control. Granda can agree with you. You don't have control with it. It's completely, they take over, they control everything. So it's stress. And but for me, I wasn't stressed. I was just enjoying the ride because that's my attitude. But for anyone, if anyone is watching it in Ngozi talk shows, please, if you're going through something, just get in touch with us. Or if there is anything that you cannot talk to somebody and you feel all alone, just get in touch with us at Ngozi Talk Shows. We have qualified coaches, even if it means that having a 30 minutes consultation or talking to somebody and knowing that you are safe, that's all we need. Get in touch. Do you guys have any words of encouragement before we go? Abdul?
Yeah, so my final word is that it is important for us to know that addiction treatment is highly individualized, okay, and what works for a person may not be suitable for another. So the best approach we should most often seek is to seek to a professional medical professional, those that they have experience. And usually it is proven that the process of dealing with coping with addiction is usually in the form of psychotherapy and then medical treatment. You know, the psychologists or psychiatrists usually they combine both this, the medical treatment and then the psychotherapy. And these are the proven, treatment that any person suffering from addiction they goes through to be able to come out of it. So it is important that it's different from individual. Okay, so it is always important for us to seek professionals for them to help us, guide us to be able to, go through the process so that we can become a better person. Mental health issue is real. We also have to make sure that whatever we are doing, sometimes things that we can control, We should do as much as possible to do that. Those that we can control, we should let it go. Okay, take some times off, take care of yourself, take care of your mental health. And it is very, very important to be able to gain, to become back to combat, to continue whatever you are doing.
That's great. I like that. I'd just like to say that if you do find, I mean, as I say, if you go through the process of checking, are you addicted, and you find you are, don't worry. There is help at hand. There is light at the end of the tunnel. It's not the end of your life. You can know there's many people I know who were addicted, and they've reformed. Again, a qualified person, I certainly can help, and there's others who can help you with this. We can get you through this. We'll find paths for you to get you through it. You've got to be willing to take it on board, and it is a very liberating exercise if you do so. And then, therefore, there is light at the end of the tunnel. There is a rainbow at the end of it. There is a happy, fulfilled, content life and career waiting for you, and you can do it without. And as somebody once said, but it's better with drugs, isn't it? And when they get to the other side, they find that it really isn't. So don't worry, take heart. Don't suffer in silence. Reach out if we can help you. Whether you're listening on the social media, whether you're watching the replays, whether you're listening, or whether you know us, just reach out to NOMSA, reach out to the team. We're here to help. Okay, NOMSA, over to you.
Thank you so much, guys. And yes, please, as Grant said, reach out. You can get in touch through the website or social media. I think all my social medias, my email addresses are there. So please do get in touch, and live with grace, everyone, and God bless.